Mabel and Cynthia had a friendship that everyone admired. They were not just roommates, they were like sisters. From the moment they met, they bonded over shared interests, late-night talks, and inside jokes. They both moved into a small apartment to save costs while they pursued their careers and education in the city. Mabel worked as an assistant in a law firm, while Cynthia was finishing her degree in business management. Despite their busy schedules, they always made time for each other. Whether it was helping each other with household chores or cheering each other up after a bad day, their support for one another seemed unbreakable. Mabel had been dating Tom, a wealthy businessman, for almost a year. Tom was generous and always treated Mabel like a queen. He would send flowers to the apartment, take her out on fancy dates, and often spoil her with expensive gifts. Cynthia was genuinely happy for Mabel, or at least that's what Mabel believed. On the other hand, Cynthia's relationship with Michael was different. Michael was hardworking, but as a recent graduate, he was still looking for stable employment. Cynthia loved him, but there was growing frustration that came with their financial struggles. While Mabel enjoyed luxury, Cynthia found herself counting every penny. However, outwardly, they remained close friends, supporting each other through thick and thin, at least for now. Despite Cynthia's smiles and outward happiness for Mabel, deep down she was beginning to feel the weight of frustration and jealousy. Every time she saw Mabel with Tom, dressed in expensive clothes and going on luxurious trips, it became harder for her to ignore her own financial struggles. Michael, though loving and supportive, couldn't offer her the lifestyle that Tom provided for Mabel. Cynthia tried her best to stay content, telling herself that money wasn't everything and that Michael would eventually find a job. But every time she asked Michael for financial help, his face would fall with disappointment. He wanted to provide for her but just couldn't. The pressure mounted as Cynthia struggled to pay her bills and buy even basic necessities. She found herself constantly comparing her life with Mabel's. Mabel had it easy, Cynthia thought, everything handed to her on a silver platter while Cynthia had to scrape by. It wasn't fair. Over time, envy began to overshadow their friendship. Cynthia started to feel that she deserved better, and this feeling of entitlement grew stronger with each passing day. She believed that she was just as deserving of wealth and comfort as Mabel, and slowly, an idea began to form in her mind. What if she could have what Mabel had? What if she could take Tom for herself? The thought seemed absurd at first, but as Cynthia's desperation deepened, she became determined to act on her desires, even if it meant betraying her closest friend. Driven by her envy and a desperate desire for a better life, Cynthia carefully devised a plan to win Tom over. She justified her actions by telling herself that Mabel didn't deserve all the luxury and attention she was getting. After all, Cynthia believed she was just as smart, just as beautiful, and perhaps even more deserving of a man like Tom. Over the next few weeks, Cynthia began to execute her plan. She started by attending events with Mabel and Tom, making herself a regular presence in their outings. She charmed Tom with her wit, laughter, and seemingly carefree attitude. Mabel, trusting her friend completely, never suspected that anything was amiss. Cynthia took every opportunity to praise Tom, laugh at his jokes, and subtly hint that she understood him better than Mabel did. Tom, flattered by the attention and unaware of Cynthia's hidden motives, began to fall for her. Cynthia knew just the right things to say to make him feel important. She fed his ego and slowly made him question his relationship with Mabel. Soon enough, Tom started spending more time with Cynthia, and before long, the two were secretly seeing each other behind Mabel's back. The betrayal reached its peak when Tom confessed to Mabel that he had fallen out of love with her and had started a relationship with Cynthia. Mabel was devastated, her world crumbling before her eyes as the two people she trusted most betrayed her in the worst possible way. When Mabel learned of Tom and Cynthia's relationship, she was completely shattered. The pain of betrayal hit her like a wave, leaving her drowning in sorrow and disbelief. She couldn't understand how her best friend could have done such a thing to her, or how Tom, the man she had loved and trusted, could so easily replace her with someone else. For days, Mabel could barely eat or sleep. She isolated herself from everyone, shutting out the world as she tried to come to terms with the reality that her friendship and relationship had both crumbled overnight. The apartment, once filled with laughter and warmth, now felt cold and empty. Cynthia, who had once been Mabel's confidant, stopped coming around after the truth came out. Mabel didn't even have the energy to confront her. The emotional pain was too much to bear. Every time Mabel saw Tom's gifts or remembered their moments together, it only deepened her heartbreak. The betrayal stung, not just because Tom left her, but because Cynthia, the one person she thought she could always count on, had chosen to take everything away from her. Overwhelmed with sadness, Mabel wondered if she would ever recover from such a deep wound. Her trust in people was broken, and for the first time in her life, she felt truly alone. While Mabel grieved, Michael was also reeling from the betrayal. Cynthia had left him for Tom without so much as a proper goodbye, and he was heartbroken too. But unlike Cynthia, Michael had a kind heart. Seeing Mabel in such a fragile state, he decided to put aside his own pain and be there for her. After all, they were both victims of the same betrayal. Slowly, he began visiting her, offering quiet support. He didn't push her to talk but was simply there, bringing food, helping with chores, and sitting with her in silence when she needed it. Over time, Mabel found comfort in Michael's presence. He was kind, patient, and understanding, qualities that she had once overlooked. Their shared experience of betrayal created a bond between them that grew stronger with each passing day. As they spent more time together, Mabel began to heal. Michael's steady support helped her regain the strength she thought she had lost. They laughed together, talked about their hopes for the future, and before long, Mabel realized that her feelings for Michael were changing. What started as friendship blossomed into something deeper. Mabel, once shattered, began to rediscover happiness in the most unexpected place, in the man who had also been left behind. While Mabel and Michael found solace in each other, Cynthia's life took a dark turn. Unbeknownst to her, Tom had been involved in illegal activities for a long time, using his wealth as a cover for drug trafficking. Cynthia, blinded by greed and her newfound relationship, never suspected that Tom was using her as part of his criminal operations. She enjoyed the luxury and attention, never questioning where Tom's money came from. However, everything came crashing down one morning when the police raided their apartment. Cynthia was shocked to find herself in handcuffs, accused of being part of Tom's drug trafficking ring. In that moment, she realized how far she had fallen. All the wealth, power, and attention that had once made her feel superior were now meaningless. She had traded her morals and her friendship for a man who didn't even care about her, and now she was paying the price. As she sat in the police station, awaiting her fate, Cynthia was filled with regret. She had lost everything, her best friend, her boyfriend, and now her freedom. Tom, the man she had betrayed Mabel for, had dragged her down into his world of crime, and there was no way out. When Mabel heard the news of Cynthia and Tom's arrest, she was initially shocked. It was hard to believe that her former best friend had been involved in such serious crimes. But as the shock wore off, Mabel didn't feel satisfaction or revenge. Instead, she felt a sense of relief, as if a heavy weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She realized that her life had taken a different path, one that had ultimately led her to peace and happiness, while Cynthia's choices had led her to destruction. Mabel was thankful for Michael's presence in her life. He had come into her world during one of the darkest moments, and now, he was the light guiding her forward. Michael's honesty, loyalty, and genuine care had shown Mabel what true love and friendship were all about. Reflecting on her past, Mabel realized how lucky she was to have escaped a life of deceit and superficiality. She knew now that she didn't need wealth or luxury to be happy. What mattered was having someone by her side who truly loved and respected her. Michael had given her that, and for that, she was eternally grateful. As time passed, Michael's persistence and dedication paid off when he landed a well-paying job. It wasn't an overnight success, but his hard work and determination finally bore fruit. The news filled Mabel's heart with pride and gratitude. She had watched him struggle, searching for opportunities and knocking on countless doors. Now, seeing him finally succeed brought her immense joy. It was a moment of triumph not just for Michael, but for both of them. Mabel reflected on how far they had come since the dark days of betrayal. She remembered how broken and lost she had felt, unsure of whether she could ever trust or love again. But Michael had been there for her, patiently supporting her through the storm. He hadn't just offered her a shoulder to cry on, he had given her hope, showing her that even after the deepest wounds, there was a chance for healing and happiness. With his new job, their lives changed in small but meaningful ways. They could now afford to plan for a future together. Mabel dreamed of a home filled with love and warmth, where they could both thrive and support each other's dreams. Their relationship, built on the foundation of trust, mutual respect, and shared experiences, was stronger than ever. Unlike her past with Tom, which had been built on superficial things, what Mabel had with Michael was real. As she looked at Michael, she knew that her heart had found its true home. The future, once clouded by pain and betrayal, now seemed bright and full of promise. In Michael's love, Mabel found the happiness she had longed for. She realized that the hardships they had both endured had only made their bond stronger, and she was grateful for the journey that had led them to each other. With Michael by her side, she knew they could face whatever challenges life had in store, and together, they would continue to build a life filled with love, trust, and hope for the future.